I was never interested in fretless bass guitar until I played one. It was a used one, actually, at a local Sam Ash music store. It felt great, and I was suddenly interested in what fretless bass had to offer. I didn't take that one home that day, but it opened my eyes to a way to groove that I had not yet experienced. By the way, guys, welcome to the Rumblin' Man YouTube channel. This is a channel for bass players and guitar players in which we look at gear to enhance your tone. We look at everything that can have to do with your tone, because getting the right tone and doing our best job as bassists is a passion of mine, okay? If that's the kind of content that you like to watch, I invite you to go on and click subscribe, click the bell to see updates, and if you're a return viewer, please give this video a thumbs up, all right? Now that's my shameless channel plug, but back to the subject of fretless bass guitar. I find myself playing my fretless almost every day. It's just a joy to play. It's so much fun. And this bass is still strung up with the stock round wound strings, but I've been wondering if I might like flats better for it, or if I'd put flats on it and then just want to go right back to rounds and therefore waste a whole bunch of energy. I don't know. I'm particularly passionate about bass strings. I love flat wound bass strings. I love round wound bass strings. I love all kinds of bass strings. I love finding the right strings for a given bass and just finding that perfect match. In fact, here on the Rumblin' Man YouTube channel, I've done a ton of reviews of various sets of bass strings, and I've actually got a link in the description of this video where you could check out my playlist of bass string reviews after this video is over, and you could kind of listen to a little bit of everything we've checked out here on the channel. The conversation of flat wound strings versus round wound strings on a fretless bass guitar has actually been the subject of a great deal of debate if you really look into it. Online forums are practically flooded with conversations about which type of string sounds or plays or holds up best for a fretless bass guitar. And from what I've gathered from my in-depth forum readings and various conversations with other players on Facebook, it's been looking to me like the general consensus among most players is that round wounds are usually the preference as a string for fretless bass. That said, though, after all that research, still unsure, I asked my bass mentor, who is an A-list live and session bassist, and he's played with huge acts all over the world, a very accomplished bass player. So I asked him, which do you prefer on fretless? And here's what he had to say via text. Personally, I prefer rounds. They just sing a bit more on a fretless. That said, I have flats on mine right now, because some prefer the darker sound of flats on a fretless. But I want a fretless to sound fretless, and rounds make that happen. I decided to do one final step in all my research, and I decided to poll all of you here on the Rumblin' Man YouTube channel. And this time, flat wound strings actually won by an overwhelming majority of 75% to 25%. You know, a few of the most commonly mentioned and most famous fretless bass guitar players include Pino Palladino, who famously played, a Music Man fretless, Tony Franklin, and then, of course, the late, great Jaco Pastorius. Ironically enough, all three of these players preferred round-wound bass strings on their fretless basses. So this subject just kind of seems to go back and forth. You got the people who staunchly prefer flats, staunchly prefer rounds. Some think, rounds are damaging to a fretboard. Some think, yeah, we'll just get a luthier to, sand it down here and there. Some think that rounds are not dangerous to a fretboard. Go ahead and blow yourself away. Interesting. And it's a tough choice to make, and I think we just have to do our own research in order to find what works for us. My goal in this week's video is to figure out which string type I prefer for fretless, because I don't yet know, and hopefully help you get closer to choosing which is right for you as well. The round wound strings we are using today are the stock rounds that came on this bass from Aria Pro 2, and the flat wounds we're using today are about a year-old set of Dunlops that I reviewed here on the channel. The bass is an Aria Pro 2 313 JP Detroit, which I really love. You can check out my full review of the bass right here on YouTube, as well as my full review of the Dunlop flat wound strings. After you check this video out, of course, I'll throw all that on the end screen. For our rig today, we're using the Line 6 Helix LT, which I often use as a standalone unit for bass, and I'm using my own signature bass patches that I made for Helix and Helix LT, and if you use it for bass as well, you're welcome to check those out on my online store and get the patches that you hear in this video as well as my other videos. Now let's proceed with this next demo and see what we can check out as far as the difference goes between these two types of strings. So something I didn't expect that that I think you heard, when I got down to the G string on the flats, when we went to that C, down there, I got this really mad, crazy buzz. And I tried to eliminate it by heightening that string, but it didn't eliminate it. So I don't know why I'm getting such an extreme buzz. It could be the nature of the Dunlop strings themselves, the way they're made, because it is a particularly light gauge. But something to be aware of is that, on a fretless bass, you're not necessarily going to get the buzz that I'm getting right now on that string. That's just something I've got to take care of. A pretty interesting fingerstyle demo comparing the two. But before I want to talk about my conclusion and which type of string I decided I like best for fretless, what I really want to do is I really want to do one more demo today, and I want to play each set of strings on that bass in a mix with some other instruments. It's going to be a very similar demo to the one we just did, but in a mix with other instruments. And I'm going to play with a pick because I actually do like to play my fretless J with a pick. And I want to see just, flats are known for sitting so nicely in a mix. So I want to see which type of these strings on this bass sit nicer in a mix. Let's check it out. So my verdict is in. And, all I can say for you is, here's my opinion. Here's what I discovered that I like. And you can take it or leave it. But at the end of the day, for your own preference, I can't decide that for you. You got to decide your own preference by trying them out. I thought originally that I would probably like flats because of the bass I tried in the store that day. But I couldn't deny that I loved the sound and the playability that I was getting with the rounds that came on this bass. When I first put the Dunlop flats on while making this video, I thought, wow, I'm absolutely going to like rounds better. It just didn't feel particularly special to me at all. Then I plugged it in, and immediately I started playing. I'm like, oh, okay. The way that it sounded just had this really great balance to it. And as I began to do the demos, I noticed that the round wound strings kind of gave the sound a little bit of a more sloppy, high-end sound, just kind of the nature of rounds, if you will. But the flats sound similar to how the rounds sound, but they have a smoothness there. As far as Dunlop flats go, they're better than some flat wound strings I've tried, but they're not my favorite at all. And I don't necessarily like the feel of them that much. I think they have kind of a plasticky feel that reminds me of a coffee stir or something. I don't know. You got to try them for yourself. Don't hate them. Don't hate them. But they're not my favorite. And I think that and obviously we got the buzz issue that I mentioned. So I think as far as the actual flat wound strings that I'm going to be using on this fretless bass, I think it's not going to be the Dunlops. I'll leave the Dunlops on it for right now, but I think I'm going to try another type of flat wound string, another company, another brand, another gauge on this bass, something that's going to sound a little better, that's going to feel a little better, and that, you know, might be a little less buzzy when we get up to the G string. Stay tuned to the Rumbling Man YouTube channel, because I am planning for that to be one of my next videos in which we check out a different set of flat wound bass strings on this fretless bass, okay? So I hope that helps you get closer to deciding what string you like for fretless bass. Perhaps you already knew before you even watched my video, and that's great if you did. Do me a favor and let's chat a little bit in the comments. I'm just really interested in your take on this. I've read so many opinions online, and I'm still interested to hear more opinions online. So which type do you like for fretless bass, and what brand and why? Okay, I would just love to hear about it, and we'll chat a little bit in the comments, okay? But anyway, I had a lot of fun making this video today. Thank you for watching it. Please subscribe to the channel. More bass content coming up. And if you're a guitar player too, you'll love all the content, because there's guitar content coming as well. We have a great time, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video, okay? God bless, and I will see you soon. Peace out.